I'm a little bit late. I was in a rush. Again, I've barely started doing these regularly, and I'm already getting late. Man, unbelievable. Okay, hello everyone. I'm Harmon Smith. Owner of the Harmon Smith channel. All I do in life is do live streams, and today we're gonna be nothing else to talk about, nothing major of note. So I thought we would listen in on this Karl Kobst video in regards to the completionist situation. I wanted to do this last night, but I didn't have time. This is a long one, like an hour and a half, and I'm curious if any new interesting information will surface. So let's go ahead and check it out.
Hello, you absolute legends. 2 months ago, I released my first video exposing the fraud committed by the Completionist and his charity, the Open Hand Foundation. Since then, it's been a rough time for our good
Career
friend Karl.
completed.
The public has turned against him, and his friends have
that subscriber count. Ooh, that's crazy.
abandoned him. It seems to be almost universal agreement that what Gerard did was wrong. But there was one man, one hero, one lawyer who dared to go.
Oh no! Is it Nick Rekieta? I haven't checked. Is Nick Rekieta edgy enough? Is he a contrarian enough to try and defend the completionist? I would say no. The reality is there's a lot of e-celeb grifters out there who pretend to be lawyers. Nick was just particularly successful in his sphere. So I'm curious if who this person is. I haven't heard anything about this.
Recently, the lawyer known as Mooney, who runs the Moon channel, uploaded a video titled Kobst vs. the Completionist. In this video, Mooney goes hard, and it's a scathing review of my videos covering the Open Hand Foundation. According to Mooney, I'm dreadfully uninformed, and lack the sufficient knowledge to talk about whether or not what the Completionist did was illegal. On top of that, he goes on the defense on behalf of the Completionist and Open Hand, saying that their actions were normal and even expected behavior of a charity. A lot of people came away from that.
Yeah, so I wonder if this individual was trying to get in with the pro great gamer crowd, or try to win points with Gerard and try to win points with that audience. I can't imagine why anybody would put themselves out there and just fail to defend the completionist. It doesn't make any sense. I guess it was just a contrarian take. To me, I think there were a handful of people right out of the bat who were saying that oh, maybe Karl Kobst got something wrong. Gerard didn't do anything, but a lot of that was dispelled really, really, really quickly. Gerard made himself look very bad with his actions, and people like Greg came forward. More evidence has been mounting, and now we have a pretty solid idea of what's happened. I can't imagine this video was recent. I could see this happening a day or so after the initial allegations dropped, but
Video with a new sense of understanding. Perhaps Karl was reckless, ignorant, and maybe even malicious. I mean, Mooney says as much in his video. According to Mooney, I wasn't genuinely trying to find out what happened with Gerard and his charity. I basically just decided he was a fraudster from the get-go, and then I proceeded to try and destroy his career and ruin the future of dementia research without considering anything else. The reason so many people were persuaded by Mooney's video is because of how confidently and smugly he talks. I mean, he sounds almost as pompous as me, which is extremely hard to do. But unfortunately, people have been misled, because Mooney has absolutely no idea what he's talking about.
Typical for a YouTube lawyer. Oh man, how many times do I have to tell you guys? How many times do I have to repeat myself? If a lawyer is on YouTube, he's not making money at his actual legal practice. And as a result, he should not be taken seriously by anybody.
This is one of the most stunning examples of the Dunning-Kruger effect I've ever seen. We are talking about a very serious situation here. Charity fraud ain't no joke. If you're going to comment on it one way or the other, you should probably try I've ever seen. We are talking about a very to inform yourself on what happened. For my part, I conducted an investigation which involved talking to the Completionist, getting official statements from Openhand, spending countless hours looking through Indieland VODs, researching Gerard and his family, and cross-checking my findings with research partners. At the end of my investigation, I presented my conclusions. But do you know what Mooney did to try and learn about what happened? Do you know what kind of investigation Mooney conducted? He watched my YouTube videos. According to Mooney, all you need to do to be an expert on a situation is watch YouTube. You don't have to actually research anything. Just sit down for an hour and ingest the scraps of information that I spoon feed you, and suddenly you are totally qualified to decide whether or not Gerard committed charity fraud.
Wow, that really does sound something like Ricada would do. Like, oh, I was told this by my law practicing Discord community. I'll just like repeat this verbatim, and like it should be rooted in fact, right? Like,
Mooney's video is one of the most self-unaware pieces of content I've ever seen. In one breath, he chastises me for being uninformed, and then in the next, he spouts facts that are completely wrong because he has not done a single bit of actual research. It wouldn't matter if you were the greatest lawyer in the world. If you don't even know the basic facts of the case, your opinion is meaningless. Mooney is one of the most clueless people I've ever seen talk on this matter, and because he knows so little, and because the facts that he presents are so wrong, his conclusions are not only ridiculous, but they are also dangerous. Casual viewers would be none the wiser of just how uninformed Mooney is, because in order to realize this, you need to know something about the situation. Most people simply don't, but I do. So today, we are going to go through Mooney's video, and I will demonstrate to you that Mooney is not only ignorant, but he is also negligent. I really hope you enjoy. Now, before we get stuck into the details, I want to quickly address something. You might notice throughout this video that I seem a bit annoyed.
yeah. So, like the thing about these lawyer grifters, like I feel like they really do seem to have this tendency to, because that they technically have a law degree, to get some kind of like respect from the community just because like, ooh, they went to law school. But in practice, there are a lot of bad lawyers out there, right? Anybody who knows how the system works can tell you that. And just because you have a law degree and that you technically passed the bar doesn't necessarily mean that you're a competent attorney, right? And I think it's really common for these people in the YouTube sphere to be like straight up, like flesh out, like never going to succeed in anything. Like those kind of people, right? They end up going into YouTube because they've realized that they can cultivate a niche, right? You know, I've been making fun of like Legal Eagle for years, right? Because it's so obvious that this guy is like a poser. And Nick Ricada, the same way, right? Like, you know, it's two sides of the same coin, right? These are absolute parasites, and they do need to be purged. Like, there does need to be more people like speaking out against them and like condemning them for what they're doing. And I am not surprised when I listen to this at all that this lawyer character Mooney did no research whatsoever. That's very typical for these personalities. They think it's beneath them. They think they can just say whatever they want and just have people believe them. It's very, very common, right? Legal does it. Ricada does it. Again, like it's very common. Like it's so common, in fact, that like I would suggest that like nobody take any lawyers seriously in the community at all. Like they're all untrustworthy. They're all trying to get views. They're all trying to get clicks. They're all trying to get engagements and super chats, right? Like they're not, because they're not actively doing legal work. They're not under any requirement to actively due diligence when it comes to research. So they can get lazy. They can just kind of make stuff up, trying to grift off of a situation or push a political agenda or whatever, right? They keep causing these kinds of problems. And I don't see enough people talk about this section of YouTube and what a problem it's becoming. You know, like these people should not be taken seriously by anybody.
Maybe even angry. And the truth is, I am angry. I'll try not to let that impact this video too much, but it will have some kind of impact. And I want to let you know why I'm angry. At the end of Mooney's video, he has an entire section highlighting how much money he thinks I made from talking about Openhand.
That's around $40,000 in YouTube income. and $16,000 in sponsorships. Our lowball figure is about $56,000 made on the back of these accusations, roughly the annual median American male individual income.
The implication is that I profited from the situation and that my motives aren't trustworthy. Perhaps I made my videos just to make a quick buck. This isn't a new tactic. I've seen this before. Remember this guy?
Karl Jobst is a professional YouTube content creator. His goal is to generate maximum views. He's monetized, plus he has sponsors to please.
Disingenuous people always do this because they want to spin a negative narrative instead of just sticking to the facts of the matter. It's not just Mooney who does this.
I think there is like some question to be raised about Jobst's motives in this. I think I was thinking the other day, like, wow, what would happen if Karl Jobst like cheated in a speed run? Would he like do an expose on himself, right? Or would his credibility as the guy who exposes speedrunners like give him a certain amount of protection from the community? Like, if that happened, like again, I think a certain amount of skepticism regarding this kind of thing is warranted. Like, I don't think I wanted to like condemn the Completionist until like I had a complete 100% understanding of what was going on. So I think for Karl Jobst, like, yeah, I think we do need to look at it from that perspective. Like, I think in you know, the Billy Mitchell thing and and like the Completionist thing, yeah, Jobst has done a lot of great investigation work, but is that going to be true in the future? Right. That is a very real concern that I think we should have going into this.
I see this everywhere. But here is the truth. I lost money covering the open hand story. You might wonder how that's even possible. My videos were monetized and a couple of them even had sponsors. They definitely made money. What on earth do I mean when I say I lost money? Well, this question arises from a lack of understanding and ignorance as to how my YouTube channel works. I don't come up with a video idea and then after that solicit a sponsor for it. My sponsors are booked months in advance. So for example, for November when I first covered this story, I already had 3 sponsors booked in for that month. That means I was always going to make 3 videos. It doesn't matter what videos I put those sponsors in or what the topic is, I'm still going to be paid the same. If this open hand situation never happened, I would have made exactly the same amount of videos. I just would have covered different topics. And I always get a decent amount of views no matter what I talk about, so I don't need this drama. In November, I had 3 sponsors booked, and I released 3 videos, but only 2 of them were sponsored. This is because I actually cancelled one of the sponsors because I released my first open hand video without a sponsor in it. That sponsor money was already in my pocket. I had to proactively cancel it and forfeit the money I was already promised. If I had covered any other topic, I would have included that sponsor and I would have made more money. And just so you know, that sponsorship was worth $8,000. And what you need to understand is that it's not just my money. I have a wife and son. It's their money too. It's my wife's money just as much as it is mine. I'm sure if you asked her, she'd really like to have that money. And I'm also sure she doesn't give a single shit about any of this online drama. But more than that, you have to appreciate the situation I'm in right now. I'm dealing with a frivolous lawsuit from a psychopath. My legal bill, just for the month of November, was $50,000. I could really fucking use that money right now. But despite the legal bills I have to pay, despite the fact that it's not just my money I'm sacrificing, despite the fact that even if I did put a sponsor in that video, it changes nothing about the content of the video, even though I have
He's still like going after Billy Mitchell is still coming after him? Really? That's interesting. Still coming after him? Really?
every single right to monetize content I've worked hard to produce, I still cancelled that sponsor. And after all that, I have to sit here and listen to these arseholes lie about my motivations and claim that I'm doing this just to make money. So yes, I'm a bit pissed off. Beyond that, Mooney's video is generally insulting in its premise, and it's especially so because of how ironic it is. Mooney's video centers around the idea that I cannot comment on whether or not the completionist actions were criminal because I haven't studied the law. But this idea falls flat for multiple reasons. First, if it required a law degree to understand what is or isn't legal, our society could not function. We absolutely can identify what is or isn't legal without looking up the specific statute. We do this every single day. Everyone knows that lying in order to solicit funds is fraud. Mooney can be as pretentious as he wants and try to make things as complicated as he wants, but it doesn't change this simple fact. The idea that you need to be a lawyer to know right from wrong, illegal from legal, is downright preposterous. And in practice, this is just not the way the world works. When it comes to prosecuting someone in a courtroom and dealing out potential punishments, yes, these legal definitions matter because they affect how actions are treated by the state. But when it comes to members of the public identifying and reporting illegal activities, I can be as simple as I want. I could give you the most basic bitch definition of fraud, and that's perfectly fine to communicate an idea. And in fact, the idea that if you can't identify a specific statute, you shouldn't comment on illegal activity is downright dangerous. As members of a society, it is our moral obligation to call out harmful behavior when we see it. In saying this, I do have a large platform, and that comes with a lot of responsibility. I have to make sure that when I make a serious accusation like fraud, that I've done my due diligence. And in this case, you're damn right I did my due diligence. Unlike Mooney, I didn't just watch some YouTube videos and start throwing around accusations of fraud. This is because when I did my investigation, no YouTube videos even existed. I had to actually put in the time and effort into finding out what really happened. I also didn't just read a legal statute and think this somehow makes me an authority on the facts of the matter. To give you an idea about just how clueless Mooney was, he didn't even know the full call between Mudaha, Gerard, and myself was posted online. This is a major piece of evidence that he ignored. It's a call that has been listened to by 500,000 other people, and has been reacted to by dozens of YouTube channels. Mooney was so ignorant, he didn't even know it existed. And because of this, large chunks of his video are just flat out wrong because he couldn't be bothered to learn about the situation. But even if the phone call wasn't posted online, the mere fact that it existed at all should have told you that you are ignorant. If you know that I have the full recording and you don't, you already know that you are way more uninformed than me. In a Reddit exchange between Mooney and myself after he released his video, he confessed he only considered my YouTube videos and didn't look at anything else. Mooney doesn't seem to appreciate the difference between reality and a YouTube video. I have spent hundreds of hours researching the Completionist and his charity streams. It is simply impossible for me to put everything that I know into a YouTube video. It would be 50 hours long. A YouTube video is not evidence. The point of a YouTube video is just to convey an idea and
I can't figure out what this song is from. Is it GoldenEye or Star Fox Adventures? It's some rare theme. I'm pretty sure it must be GoldenEye, but...
Detain people. Mooney's under the impression the information presented in my videos is all the information there is. This concept is so
surprised
ridiculous
I can't
and
tell the
naive,
difference.
it's incredible. If the Completionist wants to sue me and discuss this over a 2-week trial, I'd be happy to present the entire case. But until then, if you're simply relying on my YouTube videos, you know hardly anything. All you know is the tiny sliver of information I felt like providing. That's hardly enough to be confident in your conclusions. This applies to my viewers as well. You shouldn't just watch my videos and blindly believe you know all that there is to know. I've
that's true.
done the
Base.
work, so I'm confident making these
Base.
claims publicly. With all of this established, let's go through Mooney's video.
All rise. The Court of Public Opinion is now in session. The Honorable Judge Mooney is presiding. Please be seated. On the plaintiff's side, we have Karl Kobst, some ordinary gamers, and the public. And on the defendant's side, we have Gerard, the Completionist Khalil, and the 501c3 charity organization, the Open Hand Foundation.
The Open Hand.
The first half of Mooney's video attempts to summarize the situation and provide context as well as some legal information. I think the more important things are in the second half because that's where we find his analysis, but there are some things to point out in the first half as well.
Gerard, the Completionist Khalil, is a successful YouTuber. He runs an annual fundraising event called Indieland, which raises money for the Open Hand.
He's playing Ace Attorney music in the background. Like, what the fuck? If a YouTube lawyer uses music from Ace Attorney, don't trust them. Because if they got their understanding of the law from Ace Attorney, don't trust them. They don't know what they're talking about. Ace Attorney is still a great series, by the way, but I'm just pointing this out. It is not an accurate representation of the legal process.
Hand Foundation. charitable organization founded by his father in memory of his mother, who sadly passed from frontal-temporal dementia in 2003.
We are less than a minute in, and Mooney is already showing just how ignorant he is of the situation. He doesn't even know which year Gerard's mother died. He says 2003, but it was actually 2013. In this case, it doesn't really affect anything, but it's good to notice these factual errors because they start to tell a story of just how uninformed Mooney is.
It seems like everyone on YouTube has already weighed in on the situation, offering their hot takes fresh from the peanut gallery. Well, we are going to do something different. We are going to approach this situation like a lawyer does, and break down each allegation levied by the plaintiffs, weigh it against the evidence, and present our findings.
Mooney's idea of weighing allegations against the evidence is just to watch a few YouTube videos. As Mooney knows, watching YouTube videos is not a good attempt at fact-finding. And if you have a lawyer whose idea of researching your case is just to watch a few YouTube videos, fire them immediately. To be crystal clear, Mooney did not examine the evidence. He examined a YouTube video, which contained a portion of my knowledge of the situation. The best Mooney can say is that he has made inferences based on my YouTube videos, but he's still uninformed because he hasn't done independent research and thus cannot make any reasonable conclusions.
Ooh.
Instead, he incorrectly asserts he is some kind of authority and that he has actually done some kind of reasonable fact-finding, which is not true.
Rough.
The Open Hand Foundation is a 501c3 organization. What does that mean, and what obligations does a 501c3 have?
Mooney spends a large portion of the video talking about 501c3 legal obligations, to which I don't feel is relevant to my particular claims. I've never discussed the legal obligations of charities, nor would I be smart to, because I simply don't know. But this isn't about legal obligations. For example, I never said it was illegal for a charity to withhold all of its donations. I never said a charity legally had to disperse a certain amount of money. I never said a charity couldn't have expenses. What I said is that when Gerard tells the public he is doing something very specific with that money when he in fact is not, this is fraud.
The fundamental allegations are, number one, the completionist committed charity fraud by lying about what donations received by Open Hand were being used for. Number two, the completionist stole some of the money Open Hand should have received, which is embezzlement. And number three, there are funds that are still missing, presumed stolen, from the golf tournament, from Jamie Lee Curtis, and more, as per the Open Hand Foundation's tax returns.
Mooney then attempts to break down the allegations. These are mostly correct. However, on number 3, I never said the grant given by Jamie Lee Curtis was missing. I don't know where this came from. It certainly wasn't in my videos. Mooney does include some information from Mudahar's videos, so maybe it was from there, but I don't remember Mudahar saying that either.
Well, Gerard's apology is very interesting, to say the least. It's immediately apparent that lawyers were involved in this statement, and I gotta say, it's well put together.
What? The apology video? The one that oh fuck. Okay, the one that fucking me, a nobody reacted to, watched all the way through on stream. You can go back and check. That apology video, well put together. Like, I called that out the instant I watched it, right? I did that live. I don't remember the exact moment I called him out, but you can look back at the recording. Like, that was back when he first posted it. That was back before he edited it, and, like, he had that bit at the end where he's, like, outright threatening Karl Jobst and Mudahar, like, oh, I'm gonna come after you. Lawyers are gonna get involved. Like, I remember that, right? Like, there were so many things in this video that were so, like, self-exposing and incriminating. Like, it was a terrible video, right? Like, I don't know if it's just because I'm super perceptive about this kind of thing, but, like, I saw through him immediately. Like, if any doubts remained in my mind about, like, the credibility of the allegations, like, they were gone with that video, right? That made me, like, a completionist, like, hater for life, right? That was terrible. And this guy is going to come here and say it was a good video. No. Like, the lawyers involved should have been fired. That video should never have gone up. Like, it just was never going to convince anybody.
down the allegations, Mooney then looks at Gerard's response video. However, halfway through, Mooney does something really bizarre. He is supposed to be breaking down what Gerard said, but he instead goes on a long-winded rant about endowments.
If you are donating permanently restricted funds, what you can do instead of just sending the money in one lump sum is you can set up an endowment fund, where the principal amount of money is either untouchable or is not wholly expendable, but the interest from the fund is usable. With a large enough endowment, the charity has money, not just for life, but forever. However, this requires not only a large sum, but a complicated procedure to set up the endowment, one that requires lawyers, which requires time and money. In addition, one has to carefully vet candidates and then determine what to restrict funds for in order to maximize the fund's effects. Because such an endowment is powered by interest, naturally the larger the fund is, the larger the principal and the more effective it is in the long run. It is typical behavior. It is even, dare I say, expected behavior.
Gerard never mentioned endowments. In fact, no one has ever mentioned endowments. Mooney is quite literally fabricating a fairy tale about the potential motives of the Open Hand Foundation and creating defenses on their behalf, when the evidence that he is supposed to have examined says the complete opposite. The Open Hand Foundation and Gerard himself have told us multiple times why they kept the money. We don't need to speculate. We don't need to make up fiction. We know the answer. I was the person who actually reached out to Open Hand and asked why they hadn't donated the money. And because of this, their response is firmly cemented into my memory. Someone who didn't do this and just watched a video where it was briefly mentioned may forget it, however. In the official Open Hand statement, Jacques, the vice president of Open Hand, states in no uncertain terms, prior to our official registration as a foundation, we donated body parts for research and made financial contributions to an institution that, in our view, made insufficient progress in the fight against these debilitating conditions. This prior experience has taught us the importance of careful consideration in our partnership and is the reason why we continue to search for a proper partner and recipient of our donations. Their reason for holding the money was because they didn't know who they should give it to. This isn't ambiguous in the slightest, and Mooney seems hell-bent on ignoring the statements of the party in question because he either forgot they existed or, even worse, never even bothered to read them in the first place. Gerard, a director of the Open Hand Foundation, painted a different picture in his call to Mutahar and myself. According to him, he was fighting with his family to donate the money because it was self-admittedly not fucking cool that the money hadn't been dispersed.
You weren't notified that the money was sitting there the whole time?
I knew it was sitting there at a certain point, and that's what made me proactively go about it. Like, I was made aware in 2021 where the money hadn't moved yet, and that's what made me go, that's not fucking cool. And that's when I got personally involved to move it.
Yeah, so like the way it looks is that like it was a family operation and Gerard was just the face of the corporation, you know, the friendly, smiling gamer who loves indie games and Nintendo, right? Like the idea was to like have Gerard be the face of the company and then like his family was managing the charity. But like the family mismanaged it incorrectly. Like again, like I think part of the thing that I don't think enough people are talking about is the fact that like Gerard is not like alone in this. Like he did not pocket the money himself, right? Like it was a family thing. You know, his brother is involved, his dad is involved, probably his new wife, Gerard's stepmother. Like you know, it's an entire like thing with them. You know, Greg, the game, the old completionist guy. Like he's come out and said the same thing that like the family is that kind of family, right? They'll backstab people for no reason. Like you know they're scummy. Like and it's so apparent. Like when you look into the situation, just like how deep the rabbit hole goes with like the golf tournament and like the family and stuff like that. And I think like Gerard's big thing is that he made them look bad. Like he's probably in like legit really deep trouble with his family right now because of how he handled the situation. Going on the Discord call was stupid. Making statements without talking to a lawyer was stupid. And like it's legit coming off like he's never ever ever gonna recover from this. It's crazy. How's his channel looking? The Completionist. he put out an Assassin's Creed video? Really? Sonic Superstars? Okay, so the Mario RPG one got 250,000 views, but I think a big part of that is people shitting on him. Yeah, Sonic has gotten significantly less than that, 90,000, and then Assassin's Creed is less than that. But like, what were his view count pre-controversy? Yeah, Mario Wonder is a Switch Game of the Year. That's about 300,000, 250,000, 200,000, 300,000. Let's see. Yeah, so for his actual reviews, he used to get like 250,000 videos. Okay, pretty consistently, and yeah, he must. Yeah, it looks as if like they took a huge hit. Now it's gonna take a while before we have a clear idea of how this is gonna affect views. Like I think the big thing this affected was sub growth. Like I'm curious if we're gonna see like him kind of bounce back the way Pro Jared did. Well, Pro Jared never really bounced back, but he maintained an audience that would like watch him live stream and stuff like that. Like he's still on YouTube. Like it's not like he was driven off YouTube, even if his views tanked, and like he's not really considered an e-celeb anymore. Like he's still around and he's still bringing in an income, right? But he probably had so much set aside anyway that it hasn't really affected him much, right? Right, like I wonder if like Gerard is gonna be the same way, or if this is like legit going to like ruin him forever. Right, like I just don't know. Like to me, like the way things look in like my channel and how things are run, like I don't know how I would like completely be driven off of YouTube. Right, like I don't know, because like I feel like as long as people are paying attention to you, like you're going to still make money, right? You're still gonna sell product, you're still gonna get sponsorships, you're still gonna like I just don't know how that would even be possible. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like with Gerard like having such a well established brand, like a million and a half subs, like I just don't I don't know how this is gonna like drive him off YouTube, even if like the initial backlash is so prevalent. I don't know. Like again, I'm talking as someone who's like very frugal with money and someone who's very has like several sources of income and like has been works a real job and stuff like that. Gerard doesn't do that, right? Gerard like it seems like to me he's like the opposite of that. Someone who relies on having like 20 employees to play the games for him and edit the videos and stuff like that. Like to me, like I would never do that, right? Like I wouldn't have like this massive operation like that because that would like take away the soul of what I do. It's just to me, I feel like completely. I don't find Gerard relatable at all. Never have. Uh, and I don't know. Like I just don't know how much this kind of thing would destroy a channel like this. It just
Not that I was trying to save face, but like, this is a private fight that I've been dealing with for months with my family.
Gerard would then go on to seemingly recant this admission in his response video and claim that it was his intention the entire time to withhold the money because he wanted to make a restricted donation.
The Open Hand Foundation raised funds in an unrestricted manner with the intention to restrict a larger donation towards dementia research. Larger restricted donations ensure clear measures and direction, but can take time, whereas unrestricted donations are often instantaneous and not tracked. This is one of the big reasons as to why the donation took so long.
We have 3 completely different reasons given from members within Openhand as to why the money hadn't been donated, and none of them mentioned endowments. And what's so interesting about Mooney's endowment rant is that he talks as if Openhand could have single-handedly sustained an organization for dementia research, if only they saved up enough money.
In this way, if you have a very large sum of principal delivered in the form of permanently restricted funds, you could potentially fund a charity in perpetuity. In other words, you know the old parable, give a man a fish and he's fed for a day, but teach a man to fish and he's fed for life? That's what's going on here. With a large enough endowment, the charity has money, not just for life, but forever.
Honest to God, I have no idea what Mooney is talking about.
Yeah.
It's convenient that he doesn't mention specific figures either. We know how much money Openhand was raising. We have their tax forms. There is no reason to be so vague here. Openhand was raising around $100,000 per year. The Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration, which is the organization Openhand donated $600,000 to, receives tens of millions of dollars in donations every single year. Openhand had to hoard money for 10 years to donate but a fraction of a single year of the AFTD's revenue. And Mooney is out here talking as if the Openhand Foundation was going to change the world if only we let them save up for just a few more years.
For example, if you make a restricted donation of, I don't know, $600,000 to a charity, and the donation is restricted only to research activities, the charity cannot then pull that money and spend it on employee salaries.
Is this like the circus theme from Justice for All? From like the worst case in Ace Attorney, the original Ace Attorney trilogy. Like the circus theme. Really? Like, come on, bro. What are you doing?
Here's the catch, though. When Gerard states that the bigger the donation is, the better, this is true.
No shit, Sherlock. It doesn't need to be explained that a bigger donation is better. But that's not true if you need to withhold funds for a decade in order to do it. None of this should need explaining. And it's ultimately pointless to talk about because not only is it not what Openhand said in their official statement, but it's also a giant red herring. The issue is not that Openhand held on to money. The issue is that Gerard was lying about where the money was going and what it was being used for. To spend
Right. So if Gerard had like come out and said that like, yeah, we haven't found a donation, a charity we like yet, we're hanging on to the money for now, like that wouldn't be an issue. But like for the past several years, like all he's been doing is like, oh, the money goes straight to charity. We don't hang on to any of it, and that in and of itself was not true. Like that was a lie.
So much energy talking about the morality of saving up money to make a large donation is to be extremely dense or extremely dishonest, and it merely serves as
Yeah, phone games are cancer.
a distraction to the allegations that are being levied. Before we
Super
move
Mario
on, I just
Run
need
was
to
a
bring up
mistake.
something I didn't mention in my response video. In his response video, Gerard said this about Indieland 2019.
Our books do reconcile, and these accusations are the result of bad math and missing information. The 2019 Indieland's net proceeds were $82,409.19, and when combined with $31,371.55 in revenue from the golf tournament and $10,000 from a direct supporter, it adds up to $123,780.74.
Gerard claims that Indieland 2019 only had total proceeds of $84,000, and this is why the tax filings are correct and there is no missing money. Previously, I had shown a tweet of Gerard's where he claimed it had earnings of $109,000. This is a difference of $25,000. Some people said maybe this figure was wrong because, as the tweet says, these earnings are preliminary. Okay, sure, maybe this was premature. But then why in 2022 is Gerard saying this?
So back in 2019, Indieland hit a big milestone. We raised over $100,000 for dementia research, and as a result, we said that next year, in the year 2020, we'd be making Indieland a ticketed event that you could attend.
3 years later, he's still saying Indieland raised over $100,000 for dementia research. This isn't preliminary. So tell me, was Gerard lying in 2019? Was he lying in 2022? Or is he just lying now after it was discovered all of that money never made it to charity?
Okay, so we finally have all of our allegations in a row, and we've reviewed the completionist's response. It's time to break down each allegation and weigh each one against the facts.
Who's the chick on the bottom right? I know you can't see her, but I'm just kind of like, bro.
And the law.
Okay.
Now we get into the meat and potatoes. And I have to stress again that Mooney does not know the difference between facts and a YouTube video. If all you've done is watch a YouTube video, you do not know the facts. All you know is what I've told you. And if you don't know the facts, you cannot weigh the allegations against them. It's obviously troubling that you can't differentiate between the two. And this video wouldn't have been so much of a problem if you made it clear that you were simply relying on YouTube videos and you have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to the situation. But that's not what you did. You made people believe, incorrectly, that you had examined the evidence when you did not.
Let me preface this section by stating that prior to this drama, I had never watched a Completionist or Jobst or Mudahar video, and that I don't have a horse in this race. What Jobst, Mudahar, and Gerard get up to is generally not my concern, but I do care a lot about charity work, which is why I want to weigh in. Outside of that, I maintain that I have no biases here.
Mooney has no idea who I am, who Mudahar is, or who the Completionist is, and claims he doesn't have a horse in this race. However, from his statements in the video, it's clear that this is not the case.
Yep.
As we will see, Mooney creates false narratives about my thought process and my intentions. He makes false claims about me with no substantiation whatsoever, and his false claims are always as negative as possible. When it comes to Gerard, his interpretations are always positive, even though they are equally as false and uninformed.
Starting now, finally, with allegation number 1. Let's analyze the claims and see whether this allegation is plausible, implausible, inconsequential.
Yeah, we were never going to get through all of this today. It's so long. Yeah, we're going to have to come back tomorrow and finish it. Oh, man. Yeah, that's how, like, strapped for time I am. I can't even sit down and watch, like, a YouTube video. I know it's, like, a super long one, an hour and a half, but, like, man, I'm just, like, beat. So, yeah, I'm going to have to, like, call it quits for now. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll be sure to come back next time. We'll see if, like, tomorrow is a more active news day, if anything's actually going on, if anything's important. It's been slow lately. There's not been a whole lot to talk about. So, until then, I will see you all next time.